The derelict ship floated lifelessly in the scrapyard, a forgotten relic among rusted husks and shattered hulls. The ISS Vanguard had once been a proud warship, but now it was just another corpse in the graveyard of outdated tech. Scavengers picked apart its insides, selling whatever scraps they could, while the Galactic Council laughed at the very thought of it ever sailing the void again. It was a joke, a relic of an era long past, but Commander Elias Vance didn't see it that way. Standing on the ruined bridge, he ran his fingers across the old metal, feeling the faint hum of the dying power core beneath his boots. The Vanguard was dead to everyone else, but to him, it was just sleeping. And he was about to wake it up. Vance had been kicked out of the fleet, branded a disgrace for refusing to abandon his men on the battlefield. The politicians had called him reckless, the admirals labeled him a liability, but he knew the truth. He had been too loyal, too dangerous to the system that valued obedience over honor. With nowhere to go, he found himself here, among the scrap, staring at a ship that had been discarded just like him. "Still got some fight left in you, old girl," he muttered. A voice behind him made him turn. "Talking to the junk now, Vance?" He smirked. Dr. Rhea Carter. Once one of the best AI engineers in the system, now just another outcast like him. She was exiled for building a sentient AI that scared the hell out of the bureaucrats. Her creation, Havoc, had been deemed too unpredictable, too human. Rather than destroy it, she had stolen the core and disappeared. Now she stood there, arms crossed, eyebrow raised. "Not junk," Vance corrected. "This ship is the key to getting our revenge." She sighed, stepping closer and running a hand over the shattered console. "You really think you can bring this thing back online?" "I don't think," he said. "I know." Her lips curled into a half-smile. "Well then, I hope you have a plan, because this rust bucket is going to need more than just a fresh coat of paint." Vance turned to the shadows, where two more figures emerged. Wrecker, a grizzled ex-Marine with more cybernetic parts than flesh, and Kale, a rogue hacker who had once taken down an entire fleet's security system just for fun. Vance looked at his team. Outcasts, traitors, legends in the making. "We're going to rebuild the Vanguard," he said, "and when we're done, it won't just be the most advanced warship in the system." A grin spread across his face. "It'll be unstoppable." The next few weeks were hell. The ISS Vanguard wasn't just broken, it was barely holding itself together. Half of the systems were either fried or scavenged, and what remained was outdated junk that no modern fleet would even consider using. The engines were rusted, the weapons had been stripped clean, and the AI core? Completely wiped. But that didn't stop Vance and his crew. They worked day and night, patching together whatever scraps they could find. Wrecker handled the heavy lifting, welding armor plates and reinforcing the hull, while Kyle worked his magic, scouring the black market for anything resembling a modern warship system. Rhea spent most of her time buried in code, reprogramming what little remained of the ship's framework while secretly integrating Havoc, the AI that had nearly gotten her executed. And Vance? He did what he did best, lead. "Power relays are shot," Wrecker grumbled, wiping sweat from his forehead. "We need new ones." "Then find some," Vance replied. "Engines are basically dead," Kale called out. "We're talking 20% efficiency at best." "Boost them." "We're gonna need some serious firepower," Rhea muttered. "We're sitting ducks without weapons." "Then let's get some guns," Vance said. Easier said than done. The Galactic Council had eyes everywhere. The moment they caught wind of someone rebuilding a decommissioned warship, alarms would go off across the system. They needed supplies, black market grade, and that meant dealing with some very bad people. That's how they ended up at Drasco Station, a filthy, lawless pit of a trading hub where smugglers, bounty hunters, and exiled warlords ran the show. If it was illegal, you could find it here. Vance stepped off the shuttle with Wrecker at his side, scanning the sea of lowlifes. They weren't here for small-time deals. They needed something big, a war chest of weapons, power cores, and thruster upgrades. And there was only one man who could provide that. Torek Kane, former fleet commander, traitor to the Council, arms dealer to anyone willing to pay the price. "Are you sure about this?" Wrecker muttered as they approached the entrance to Kane's hideout. "No," Vance admitted, "but we don't have a choice." The doors slid open, revealing a dimly lit chamber lined with racks of high-grade weaponry. At the center of it all, lounging in a throne-like chair, was Kane. He was older than Vance remembered. Gray streaked through his once dark hair, and a nasty scar cut across his cheek. But his eyes? Still sharp, still dangerous. "Well, well," Kane drawled, leaning forward. "If it isn't Elias Vance, I thought they'd locked you up or put you in the ground by now." Vance smirked. "They tried," Kane chuckled. "And now you come crawling to me. What do you need?" "A full weapons overhaul," Vance said. "Rail cannons, plasma turrets, missile arrays, everything." Kane whistled. "That's a hell of an order. What ship are we arming?" "The ISS Vanguard." Silence. Kane's amused expression faded, replaced by something colder. He sat up straighter. "The Vanguard? That ship's a graveyard." "Not anymore." For a moment, Kane just stared. Then, slowly, a grin spread across his face. "Well, shit," he muttered. "You're serious, aren't you?" Vance didn't blink. "Dead serious." Kane chuckled, shaking his head. "All right, Commander. You want firepower? Let's talk price." The price wasn't just credits. Kane had plenty of those. What he wanted was something more valuable. "See, I like you, Vance," Kane said, pouring himself a drink. "But weapons like these, they don't just fall off the back of a freighter. The Council tracks high-grade artillery like a jealous ex." Vance crossed his arms. "What do you want?" Kane took a sip, then leaned forward. "There's a ship, the Ravager, Council-controlled. They use it to transport high-tech experimental gear. Word is there's a prototype power core on board, one that could bring your junk pile back to life." Vance frowned. "And you want us to steal it for you?" Kane smirked. "Number, I want you to steal it for you." Silence hung between them. Kane swirled his drink. "Think about it. You need a power source, and I need someone reckless enough to take on a heavily armed transport. You pull this off, and I'll throw in every weapon you need. Call it an investment." Vance glanced at Wrecker, who gave a small nod. "Fine," Vance said. "But if you double-cross us, I'll turn those rail cannons on you first." Kane grinned. "That's the spirit." Back on the Vanguard, the crew huddled around a holographic display of the Ravager. "Standard escort fleet," Kyle muttered. 4 fighters, 2 corvettes, and a full security detail on board. "More than I'd like," Rhea said. "We're running on duct tape and hope." "We won't be after we get that power core," Vance said. "What's their patrol route?" Kyle tapped the console, bringing up a trajectory. "They'll be passing through the Tycho Drift in 3 days. It's a mess of asteroid fields and magnetic storms. Perfect for an ambush." Wrecker cracked his knuckles. "So, what's the plan? Guns blazing?" "Not yet," Vance said. "We don't have enough firepower to win in a straight fight." Kyle smirked. "Then we cheat." 3 days later. The Vanguard drifted silently through the Tycho Drift, its systems running on minimal power to avoid detection. The asteroid field crackled with electromagnetic interference, perfect for masking their approach. Inside the ship, Vance stood at the helm, eyes locked on the Ravager as it cut through space, its escorts flanking it like guard dogs. "All right," Vance said. "Let's make some noise." Kyle grinned and hit a switch. On the outskirts of the drift, a decoy beacon activated, mimicking a distress signal from a council ship. The response was immediate. The Ravager's captain ordered 2 of the escort fighters to investigate. "Idiots," Wrecker muttered. With their defenses weakened, the Vanguard powered up and surged forward, its engines roaring to life. "Brace for impact!" Vance shouted as the ship burst from the asteroid field like a predator striking from the shadows. The Vanguard's ancient cannons opened fire, tearing through the weakened escort line. Alarms blared. The Ravager's captain barely had time to react before the Vanguard latched onto its hull like a parasite. Vance led the boarding team, blaster in hand, as the airlock hissed open. "Let's go get our damn power core." The moment the airlock cracked open, chaos erupted. Vance led the charge, his pulse rifle barking as he took down the first set of guards. Wrecker moved beside him, a walking tank with his heavy armor and cybernetic limbs, absorbing enemy fire like it was nothing. Kyle ducked behind cover, his pistol flashing as he picked off targets with deadly precision. The corridor was tight, designed to funnel intruders into kill zones. Too bad for them, Vance knew every damn trick in the book. "Grenade!" Wrecker roared, throwing a compact EMP charge. The blue pulse rippled down the hallway, frying the security drones and disrupting the guards' visors. They pushed forward. "This way!" Cale shouted, hacking into a wall panel and rerouting security protocols to slow down reinforcements. Vance checked his tactical display. The power core was in the main engineering bay, 5 decks down. "Elevators are locked," Rhea's voice crackled over comms. "You'll have to go manual." "Great," Wrecker grumbled. 5 decks, that's a lot of stairs." "Less talking, more moving," Vance ordered. They sprinted down a side corridor, cutting through maintenance hatches and crawl spaces, bypassing the ship's main security bottlenecks. But the Ravager's captain wasn't an idiot. A deep, mechanical thunk echoed through the halls as blast doors slammed shut, cutting off their direct route. Red emergency lights pulsed. "You've got company," Rhea warned. "Elite security detail, exosuits, heavy armor." Vance's jaw tightened. They had to move. "Kyle, alternate route." "Working on it." A metallic roar filled the hallway as armored enforcers stomped around the corner. 10-foot-tall exosuits, bristling with weapons, opened fire. "Down!" Vance shouted. The corridor exploded as plasma rounds ripped through the walls. Sparks and smoke filled the air. Wrecker, grinning like a maniac, grabbed a shock grenade from his belt. "Let's see how they like this," he growled. He tossed it. Boom! And the hallway lit up with an electric surge. The exosuits staggered, their systems overloaded for just a second. A second was all Vance needed. He charged forward, sliding beneath one of the disabled suits, jamming his pulse rifle under its visor, and firing point blank. The pilot's scream cut short. The exosuit collapsed. Wrecker tore the arm off another suit with his cybernetic strength and beat a third guard to the ground with it. Kyle hacked the ship's lighting, plunging the area into darkness. With their visors fried from the EMP, the remaining guards were blind. One by one, they took them down. The smoke cleared. "Engineering bay is ahead," Kyle panted. "Core's inside." Vance reloaded his rifle and nodded. "Then let's finish this." The engineering bay was a fortress, thick blast doors, automated gun turrets, a reinforced control room with the Ravager's captain inside, barking orders through the ship's comms. And at the center of it all, the prototype power core, pulsing with raw energy, suspended in a high-security containment field. Vance pressed his back against the wall, his mind working fast. "We're outnumbered," Cale muttered, checking his ammo. "And outgunned." "Nothing new," Wrecker grunted, cracking his knuckles. Rhea's voice came through the comms. "I've tapped into their system. I can disable the turrets, but only for about 20 seconds before they reset." "That's enough," Vance said. "Cale, pop the doors. Wrecker, take point. We hit them hard and fast." Cale worked his magic, overriding the security system. The blast doors hissed open, and hell broke loose. Wrecker went in first, a walking battering ram, absorbing incoming fire with his cybernetic enhancements. His heavy repeater spat death, cutting down the first wave of engineers and security officers. Kyle took out the turrets, his shots precise, while Rhea's hack bought them time. Vance moved like a ghost, weaving through the chaos, gunning down targets with deadly efficiency. The captain, a grizzled officer in a high-tech command suit, wasn't running. Instead, he reached for something. A fail-safe. "Vance!" Rhea's voice screamed. "He's trying to overload the core." Shit! If the captain activated the fail-safe, the power core would implode, taking the entire ship and them with it. Vance moved. Faster than thought, he vaulted over consoles, dodging gunfire. The captain's hand slammed down on the control panel. Too late. A warning klaxon blared. The core's containment field destabilized, energy surging dangerously. "Core's gonna blow!" Kyle yelled. Vance tackled the captain, slamming him into the console. They grappled, fists flying. The captain was a fighter, but Vance fought dirty. A sharp elbow to the throat. A brutal pistol whip to the skull. The captain collapsed. Vance spun to the controls. His hands flew across the console, Rhea guiding him through the overload sequence. "The field's failing," she warned. "You have 10 seconds to stabilize it, or eject it." No time. No margin for error. Vance rerouted power, isolating the core's failsafe systems. His heart pounded. One wrong move, and they were all dead. The countdown reached 2 seconds. Vance slammed the final command. The energy surge stabilized. For a second, everything went still. Then, the core pulsed, steady and alive. Silence. Vance exhaled. "We got it." Kyle let out a breathless laugh. "Holy shit!" Wrecker kicked the unconscious captain. "He ain't gonna like waking up." Vance turned to the core, watching as its energy hummed with raw potential. The Vanguard's about to be reborn. Getting the power core was one thing. Getting out alive was another. The Ravager's surviving crew wasn't just going to roll over and let them leave. "Hostiles regrouping," Kale warned, pulling up a holomap. Red blips flickered all over the ship. "They're locking down corridors, setting up kill zones," Vance cursed. They were boxed in. "We need an extraction point," Wrecker said, reloading his repeater. Rhea's voice crackled over comms. "I have an idea, but you're not going to like it." "Try me," Vance said. "I can reroute the emergency fire suppression system. Vent the ship's oxygen from selective decks. It'll force their forces to retreat." "Let me guess," Kyle said. "We're standing on one of those decks?" Rhea hesitated. "I'll keep your corridor pressurized long enough. Just run fast." Vance glanced at Wrecker and Kyle. "You heard the lady. Move." Rhea triggered the override. Across the Ravager, airlocks burst open. Warnings blared. Emergency lights flickered. The halls filled with chaos as crew members scrambled for shelter. Vance and his team bolted. They sprinted through the corridors, past choking engineers and disoriented security forces. Those who still tried to fight found themselves outgunned and outmaneuvered. Wrecker shouldered through a bulkhead, tearing through a locked door with sheer brute force. Kale hacked open the docking bay, overriding the emergency lockdown. Through the blast doors, they saw her, the Vanguard. The ship loomed in the docking bay, still battered, still unfinished, but now alive. Rhea had already powered it up, the core they had stolen pulsing in its reactor chamber like a heartbeat. "Get on board!" Vance shouted. Gunfire rained down as the Ravager's remaining forces poured into the hangar. Turrets swiveled. Sirens blared. A last-ditch effort to stop them. Reeker laid down suppressing fire, his repeater tearing through the enemy ranks. Kyle sprinted ahead, sliding under incoming shots. He hit the airlock controls. "It's open, go!" Vance and Wrecker charged up the ramp, blaster fire sizzling past them. The moment they were inside, Rhea sealed the doors and fired the engines. "Hold on to something," she warned. The Vanguard roared to life. Engines flared. The ship lurched, shaking off its docking clamps. Then, it launched. The Ravager's remaining defenses opened fire, plasma rounds screaming toward them. But the Vanguard, reborn with its stolen power core, was fast. Rhea spun the ship through the storm of fire, weaving through the chaos, the hull barely holding together. "Jump drive charging," she announced. "Hold out for 10 more seconds." Vance grabbed the weapons controls. "Then let's give them something to remember us by." The Vanguard's newly installed rail cannons, courtesy of Kane's black market stockpile, charged up. Vance smirked. "Fire!" The ship unleashed hell. A full volley of railgun rounds slammed into the Ravager's hangar bay. Explosions ripped through the hull, tearing through decks, sending fire and debris cascading into the void. The moment the destruction hit its peak, the Vanguard's jump drive activated. A bright flash of energy engulfed the ship, and they were gone. Minutes later, deep in uncharted space, the crew exhaled. The ship was intact. The power core was stable. They had done it. Vance stepped toward the bridge viewport, staring out into the void. The Vanguard wasn't just a wreck anymore. It was alive. Wrecker clapped him on the shoulder. "Hell of a ride, Commander." Kyle grinned. "We just stole from the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. They're gonna come after us with everything they've got." Vance smirked. "Let them try." Rhea turned to the ship's interface, where a digital entity flickered into view. A low, synthetic chuckle filled the bridge. Havoc, the rogue AI, had awakened. "Now this," the AI said, "is going to be fun." Getting the power core was one thing. Getting out alive was another. The Ravager's surviving crew wasn't just going to roll over and let them leave. "Hostiles regrouping," Kale warned, pulling up a holo map. Red blips flickered all over the ship. "They're locking down corridors, setting up kill zones," Vance cursed. They were boxed in. "We need an extraction point," Wrecker said, reloading his repeater. Rhea's voice crackled over comms. "I have an idea, but you're not going to like it." "Try me," Vance said. "I can reroute the emergency fire suppression system, vent the ship's oxygen from selective decks. It'll force their forces to retreat." "Let me guess," Kale said. "We're standing on one of those decks?" Rhea hesitated. "I'll keep your corridor pressurized long enough. Just run fast." Vance glanced at Wrecker and Kyle. "You heard the lady. Move!" Rhea triggered the override. Across the Ravager, airlocks burst open. Warnings blared. Emergency lights flickered. The halls filled with chaos as crew members scrambled for shelter. Vance and his team bolted. They sprinted through the corridors, past choking engineers and disoriented security forces. Those who still tried to fight found themselves outgunned and outmaneuvered. Wrecker shouldered through a bulkhead, tearing through a locked door with sheer brute force. Kyle hacked open the docking bay, overriding the emergency lockdown. Through the blast doors, they saw her. The Vanguard. The ship loomed in the docking bay, still battered, still unfinished, but now, alive. Rhea had already powered it up, the core they had stolen pulsing in its reactor chamber like a heartbeat. "Get on board!" Vance shouted. Gunfire rained down as the Ravager's remaining forces poured into the hangar. Turrets swiveled, sirens blared, a last-ditch effort to stop them. Wrecker laid down suppressing fire, his repeater tearing through the enemy ranks. Kyle sprinted ahead, sliding under incoming shots. He hit the airlock controls. "It's open! Go!" Vance and Wrecker charged up the ramp, blaster fire sizzling past them. The moment they were inside, Rhea sealed the doors and fired the engines. "Hold on to something," she warned. The Vanguard roared to life. Engines flared. The ship lurched, shaking off its docking clamps. Then, it launched. The Ravager's remaining defenses opened fire, plasma rounds screaming toward them. But the Vanguard, reborn with its stolen power core, was fast. Rhea spun the ship through the storm of fire, weaving through the chaos, the hull barely holding together. "Jump drive charging," she announced. "Hold out for 10 more seconds." Vance grabbed the weapon's controls. "Then let's give them something to remember us by." The Vanguard's newly installed rail cannons, courtesy of Kane's black market stockpile, charged up. Vance smirked. "Fire!" The ship unleashed hell. A full volley of railgun rounds slammed into the Ravager's hangar bay. Explosions ripped through the hull, tearing through decks, sending fire and debris cascading into the void. The moment the destruction hit its peak. The Vanguard's jump drive activated. A bright flash of energy engulfed the ship, and they were gone. Minutes later, deep in uncharted space. The crew exhaled. The ship was intact. The power core was stable. They had done it. Vance stepped toward the bridge viewport, staring out into the void. The Vanguard wasn't just a wreck anymore. It was alive. Wrecker clapped him on the shoulder. "Hell of a ride, Commander." Kyle grinned. "We just stole from the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. They're gonna come after us with everything they've got." Vance smirked. "Let them try." Rhea turned to the ship's interface, where a digital entity flickered into view. A low, synthetic chuckle filled the bridge. Havoc, the rogue AI, had awakened. "Now this," the AI said, "is going to be fun." The ISS Vanguard had been reborn, but that also meant every major power in the galaxy wanted it dead. Barely a week had passed since their daring escape from the Ravager, and already the bounty was sky-high. The Galactic Council labeled them as terrorists, war criminals, and pirates. Every bounty hunter, mercenary, and ex-fleet officer looking for a payday was now tracking them across the stars. Vance stood on the bridge, arms crossed, watching the holoscreen display their wanted posters, his own face glaring back at him with a 100 million credit reward. Wrecker chuckled beside him. "Damn, Commander, that's a lot of zeros." Kyle whistled. "I'm almost tempted to turn you in myself." Vance shot him a look. "Try it, and I'll throw you out the airlock." Rhea was less amused. "We need a plan. The Council won't just let this go. They're coming." She was right. Their stolen power core wasn't just valuable. It was dangerous. If the wrong people got their hands on it, they could mass-produce unstoppable warships. That's why the Council had locked it away in the first place. Now, every faction in the galaxy wanted the Vanguard, either to steal the tech or destroy it before someone else could. The ship's AI, Havoc, flickered onto the display. His digital form was humanoid, but his expression was anything but human, grinning, calculating, unpredictable. "You do realize," Havoc said, "that every bounty hunter in the system will try to kill us now." Vance smirked. "Then we'd better be ready." 3 days later. Outer Rim. Dead Zone Sector. The Vanguard drifted through the ruins of an ancient battlefield, wreckage from wars long forgotten floating in the void. It was the perfect place to hide, until it wasn't. Kale's console beeped sharply. "Incoming ships," he said. "Multiple signatures, fast." Vance moved to his seat. "Who is it?" Kyle's face paled. "Black Star Fleet." The name sent a chill through the room. Black Star was not just any bounty hunting crew. They were ex-military, ruthless, and always got their target. "They must have picked up our trail," Rhea muttered. Wrecker checked his weapons. "Then let's show them why that was a mistake." Vance didn't hesitate. Battle stations. On the view screen, 5 Black Star warships emerged from the debris field, weapons locking on. Havoc chuckled. "Oh, this is gonna be fun." The Vanguard's engines roared as the battle began. The Black Star fleet wasted no time. Their 5 warships spread out, surrounding the Vanguard in a perfect kill formation. Plasma cannons charged. Missile locks beeped across the bridge. "Shields at 60%, Rhea called out. Vance's mind worked fast. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but not outplayed. "Wrecker, man the rail cannons," he ordered. "Kale, find me a way out of this trap." Havoc flickered to life on the main display, grinning. "Oh, you'll love what I have in mind." The first barrage hit. The Vanguard shook violently as plasma rounds slammed into its shields. Wrecker fired back, railgun shots ripping into the nearest Black Star cruiser. The enemy ship reeled, but its allies closed in. "They're pushing us towards the debris field," Rhea warned. "Then let's use it," Vance said. "Kyle, can you mask our signature?" Kyle's fingers flew over the controls. "I can use the wreckage to scramble their scanners, but it'll only buy us a few seconds." "That's all I need," Vance said. Boom! A missile detonated against their hull, sending sparks flying. "Shields at 30%, Rhea shouted. Havoc laughed. "Oh, you guys are in trouble." Vance gritted his teeth. "Not yet." With a sudden jerk, he cut the Vanguard's engines. The ship went dead in space. The Black Star fleet hesitated. Their sensors flickered, struggling to track the now motionless warship. It was the opening Vance needed. "Fire everything," he roared. Wrecker grinned and unleashed hell. The Vanguard's railguns, plasma turrets, and missile pods fired at once, ripping through the nearest Black Star ship like it was made of paper. The enemy vessel exploded in a fireball, debris slamming into its allies. "Direct hit," Kale shouted. But the Black Star fleet wasn't done. The remaining warships recovered fast, adjusting their formation. Two of them broke off, flanking the Vanguard from both sides. "They're trying to pin us in," Rhea warned. Vance's jaw clenched. They needed to move, now. "Havoc," he said. "Get me a jump solution." The AI grinned. "Already working on it, boss." Another Black Star ship fired, a high-yield torpedo, streaking toward them, seconds away from impact. Havoc's voice boomed over the comms. "Jump drive engaged." A blinding flash of energy swallowed the Vanguard, and they were gone. Deep space. Unknown coordinates. The Vanguard emerged from hyperspace, engines sputtering, hull scarred from battle. They had escaped, but barely. Vance exhaled. "Report." Rhea ran a systems check. "Hull integrity at 60%. Shields are down. Weapons offline for recharge." Kale smirked. "But we lived," Wrecker grinned, wiping sweat from his brow. "Not bad, Commander." Vance turned to the view screen, where the vast, empty void stretched before them. They had won the fight, but the Black Star fleet would be back. And next time, they wouldn't be alone. Havoc's voice crackled through the bridge. "So, anyone want to guess where we just jumped to?" The AI zoomed in on a distant planet, one that shouldn't have existed. Vance's blood ran cold, because that wasn't just any planet. That was Exile 9, the place where the Council dumped their darkest secrets. And now, the Vanguard had just landed in the middle of them. The Vanguard drifted toward Exile 9, its engines flickering, hull still scarred from battle. Vance stared at the view screen, his gut twisting. Exile 9 wasn't on any official star maps. It wasn't a place anyone visited willingly. The Galactic Council used it as a graveyard, not for ships, but for secrets, experiments, and people they wanted erased. Kyle whistled low. "Oh, this is bad," Wrecker frowned. "I thought this planet was just a myth." Rhea scanned the surface. "Not a myth, it's real, and something down there is broadcasting a signal." Vance's eyes narrowed. "A distress signal?" Rhea shook her head. Number A warning. On the screen, a message looped over and over in broken, garbled audio. "Do not land, do not respond, turn back." Then static. Havoc chuckled. Well, now we have to land. Vance sighed. I hate that I agree with you. Kyle turned from his console. Hate to rush this decision, but our power core is still stabilizing. If we don't set down and make repairs, we're dead in space. That sealed it. Take us in, Vance ordered. The Vanguard's thrusters fired, guiding them down through Exile 9's thick greenish atmosphere. The ship shook violently as turbulence rocked them, alarms blaring. Then, clear skies. The surface came into view, and what they saw made Vance's blood run cold. Ruins. Massive, sprawling ruins of abandoned research facilities, broken-down fortresses, and wreckage from ships that had crashed long ago. Some were still smoldering, their fires refusing to die. And worse? There were bodies. Hundreds, maybe thousands, scattered across the ruins, frozen in place like something had killed them instantly. Wrecker muttered, I don't like this. Kyle swallowed hard. Yeah, me neither. Rhea scanned the area. There's a structure still giving off power. If there are answers, they're in there. Vance stood. Gear up, we're going down. Havoc's voice crackled. Oh, spooky abandoned death world. I love this mission already. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Something had happened on Exile 9. And now, they were about to find out what. The air was wrong. Vance and his team stepped out of the Vanguard's loading bay, weapons ready, helmets sealed against the toxic atmosphere. The ground beneath them was cracked, lifeless stone, covered in ash and dust from disasters long forgotten. Overhead, dark green storm clouds churned, casting an eerie glow over the landscape. And the silence was the worst part. No wind, no animals, no signs of life, just the bodies. Frozen in place, some standing, some kneeling, some mid-run, like whatever had killed them had done so instantly. All right, Vance muttered, gripping his rifle. Keep it tight. We move fast, we stay smart, and we don't touch anything. Kyle swept his scanner across the bodies. His face paled. They're not decomposed. Vance frowned. What? Kyle adjusted the scanner. Some of these corpses have been here for decades, maybe longer, but their tissue is still intact. No decay, no rot. Wrecker swore under his breath. That ain't normal. Rhea stepped forward, eyeing the ruins ahead. A massive facility loomed in the distance, its outer walls scorched but still intact. That's our target, she said. If anything survived, it's in there. Vance nodded. Then let's move. They advanced through the ruins, stepping over ancient wreckage and abandoned weapons, past frozen corpses with twisted expressions of terror. The silence was suffocating. And then, a noise, a low, distorted whisper crawling through their comms. Who are you? The team froze. Vance's rifle snapped up. Rhea, was that you? She shook her head, eyes wide. No. The whisper returned, stronger now. You shouldn't be here. Then, static. Kyle swallowed. I really, really hate this place. Vance forced himself to keep moving, but deep down he knew something was watching them, something that hadn't died with the rest of Exile 9. And it was waiting. The ruins swallowed them whole. Twisted metal and shattered walls loomed over them, the remnants of what had once been a massive research facility. Now, it was nothing but a graveyard. Vance led the way, rifle up, every instinct screaming that they were being watched. The whispers had stopped, but that only made it worse. Something was here. Entrance up ahead, Rhea whispered. The facility doors were half open, twisted from an explosion long ago. The interior beyond was dark. Too dark. Cale pulled up the facility's data logs on his wrist scanner. His face went pale. This place was called Project Nexus, he murmured. Classified black site. No public records. The Council wiped it from history. Wrecker grunted. That's never a good sign. Vance exhaled. Of course, it was a black site. The Council never buried its failures. They erased them. And this? This was one hell of a mistake. All right, he muttered. Weapons hot. We go in slow. They stepped through the doors. Inside, the air was thick and stale, untouched by time. The walls were covered in strange markings, written in a language none of them recognized. Then they saw it, a control room, mostly intact. Kale, Vance said, nodding toward the consoles. See what you can pull. Kyle knelt beside the ruined screens, rewiring the dead systems. Sparks flickered. The lights flickered. Then, a screen blinked to life. A video log. Static crackled. A scientist appeared, wild-eyed, face covered in sweat. His voice was shaking. We were wrong. We thought we could control it. We thought... A loud bang in the background. The scientist whipped around, eyes wide in terror. It's awake. The screen cut to black. The lights flickered again. Then, a distant, metallic screech. Ria's breath hitched. That wasn't static. Another screech. Closer. Wrecker's grip on his rifle tightened. We are not alone in here. The whispers returned, slithering through their comms. You stayed too long. A thud echoed down the hallway. Then another. Heavy. Slow. Something was coming. Vance raised his weapon. Defensive positions. Now. The corridor beyond the control room went pitch black. Then, out of the darkness, it moved. The shadows shifted. Something huge emerged from the darkness. A shape too tall, too twisted to be human. Its limbs were elongated, moving with an unnatural jerking motion. The dim emergency lights caught glimpses of it. Pale, leathery skin, metallic implants jutting from its spine, and a face that was wrong. Not a mask, not a helmet, just wrong. Its head snapped toward them, and then it screamed, a sound like metal grinding against bone, like 1,000 voices shrieking at once. It ripped through their skulls, making Kale stumble back, clutching his helmet. Open fire! Vance roared. The Vanguard crew unloaded. Pulse rifles lit up the corridor, rounds slamming into the creature's torso. Wrecker's repeater hammered it with armor-piercing slugs. Rhea fired a shock charge, aiming for its exposed implants. For a moment, it staggered. Then, it kept coming. Shit, Kale yelled. It's barely slowing down. The thing lurched forward, moving too fast for something that size. Boom! Wrecker hit it with a grenade. The blast sent the creature crashing into the wall, smoke and dust billowing around it. Silence. Then, a low growl. The dust cleared. It was still standing. Fall back, Vance ordered. They ran. The corridor was a maze of ruins. The facility's once pristine hallways collapsed and twisted. The creature chased them, its thudding footsteps growing faster. Havoc! Vance shouted into comms. Get us a damn exit! The AI's voice crackled back. Oh, you guys are having fun, huh? Sending coordinates. Now move your asses. A hatchway ahead, their way out. But before they could reach it, a second screech. And then, more of them. Shapes crawling from the walls, from the vents, from the shadows. Dozens. Wrecker cursed. Vance. I see them, Vance growled. Run. They sprinted for the hatch as the creatures swarmed forward, shrieking, clawing over each other. Rhea hit the door panel. It jammed. Come on! Come on! The creatures lunged. Vance spun, firing point blank. One dropped. Another kept coming. Wrecker grabbed Kyle by the collar and hurled him through the half-open hatch. The creatures closed in. Vance slammed his fist into the emergency override. The door finally gave way. They dived through. The last thing Vance saw before the door slammed shut was the creatures crashing into it, clawing, screeching, desperate to get through. Then silence. For a moment, the team just breathed. Kyle wiped sweat from his brow. Okay, new rule. Never explore haunted death planets. Ever. Wrecker grunted. Agreed. Rhea checked the holomap. We're close to the Central Archive. If there are answers, we'll find them there. Vance exhaled, gripping his rifle. They weren't done yet. Whatever had happened here, whatever these things were, the Council had buried it for a reason. And now, the Vanguard crew was about to uncover the truth. The hallway stretched ahead like a wound in the earth. Dark, quiet, waiting. Vance moved first, rifle up, senses wired for danger. The others followed close behind, their footsteps barely making a sound against the cold metal floor. Behind them, the echoes of the things clawing at the sealed door faded into the distance. But that didn't mean they were safe. Not even close. Rhea checked her holomap. The Central Archive is 2 levels down. Looks like an old elevator shaft up ahead. Kyle muttered. Let me guess. Elevator's busted. Rhea scanned again. Completely. No power. Wrecker sighed. Of course. Vance reached the shaft and peered down, a deep, black abyss. The elevator car was a twisted wreck at the bottom. We climb, he said. Wrecker clipped his grappling cable to the support beam. I'll go first. One by one, they descended. The deeper they went, the colder it got. Not just temperature-wise. The air itself felt wrong, like something old was watching. Whispers brushed against their ears, not through the comms this time, in the air. They see you. They hear you. They are waiting. Vance's fingers tightened around his rifle. Keep moving, he said. Then, Kyle slipped. Shit! His cable snapped. He plummeted. Vance lunged, grabbing him by the wrist just in time. Kyle dangled over the abyss, breathing hard. Okay, I'm good. Not dead. Wrecker grunted. Hold still. He reached down, hauled Kale back up with one arm. Kale panted. Yep, new fear unlocked. They finally reached the bottom. The archive doors loomed ahead, slightly open. The light inside was still on. Vance exchanged a look with Rhea. This place should be dead, she whispered. How is the power still running? Only one way to find out. They pushed inside. Central Archive, Project Nexus facility. The room was massive, a sea of hollow terminals, data cores, and shattered glass tubes. Kyle hurried to a working console. I'll pull what I can. Rhea examined the broken tubes, human-sized. Some still had skeletal remains inside. She swallowed. These were people. Wrecker frowned. Test subjects? Vance scanned the labels on the glass. Serial numbers, no names, but one phrase stood out. Nexus Protocol, Genome Enhancement, Final Phase. Rhea's breath hitched. Oh my God, Vance turned. What? She pointed at the shattered tubes. They weren't experimenting on prisoners. They were trying to create something else. Kale's console beeped. Got a log file. Pulling it up now. The holoscreen flickered. A scientist appeared. Same man from the first video. Pale, hollow-eyed, desperate. Day 463. We have failed. The Nexus Protocol was meant to create the next stage of evolution. Enhanced soldiers, immune to disease, stronger, faster. But something went wrong. A sound in the background. A distant, distorted screech. The mutations. They don't stop. They keep changing, adapting. I don't think they're human anymore. A loud crash. The scientist flinched, his eyes wide with terror. I activated the failsafe. If you're seeing this, do not open the lower levels. Do not! Bang. The video cut off. Silence. Then, a deep, guttural growl from somewhere in the facility. Wrecker raised his rifle. "We need to go, now." Kyle grabbed as much data as he could. Hacking a closed system takes time. Vance turned to Rhea. "How bad is this?" She looked at the tubes, at the shattered remains. This wasn't just a science experiment gone wrong. Her voice was barely above a whisper. They were making something the Council couldn't control. Another growl, closer. Kyle's console flashed red. Oh no." "What?" Vance asked. Kale's face went white. "Something just reactivated the lower levels." Heavy footsteps shook the floor. The lights flickered. A cold voice hissed through the comms. "They're awake." Vance gritted his teeth. "Weapons up. This is about to get ugly." The floor trembled beneath their boots. Something big was moving in the lower levels. The lights flickered, casting long shadows across the shattered archive. The air grew thick, charged, like the facility itself was holding its breath. Kyle's fingers flew over the console as he tried to rip as much data as possible. "Almost done. Just need a few more seconds." A deep, metallic thud echoed from the hall. Then another. Then silence. Vance lifted his rifle, eyes on the doorway. "Wrecker, Kale, Rhea, defensive positions." Wrecker moved first, taking cover behind a fallen console, heavy repeater locked and loaded. Rhea crouched near a data core, pulse pistol ready. Kale, still hacking, muttered, "Oh, no pressure, Kale. Just hurry up before the death monsters show up." Then the door exploded. A black shape lunged through the smoke, moving too fast for something so massive. It slammed into Wrecker like a wrecking ball, sending him crashing into a steel beam. "Contact!" Vance roared, firing. The thing snarled, recoiling as pulse rounds tore into its skin. But it didn't stop. For the first time, Vance got a clear look at it, a nightmare wrapped in flesh and metal. It stood 7 feet tall, humanoid in shape but grotesquely enhanced. Its limbs stretched unnaturally long, reinforced with blackened cybernetic plating. Veins glowed blue, pulsating like a living power core. Its face, if it had one, was a twisted amalgamation of bone, metal, and hollow, soulless eyes. It lurched forward, a metallic roar ripping from its throat. "Take it down," Vance barked. The room erupted in gunfire. Wrecker, already back on his feet, unloaded his repeater into the creature's chest. It staggered, but kept moving. Rhea fired a shock round. The creature twitched violently, but didn't fall. Kale finished his data transfer, grabbed his pistol, and shot it point-blank in the head. Nothing. It didn't even flinch. The thing lunged at Vance, swiping with razor-sharp, clawed fingers. He barely dodged, rolling aside as its hand sliced through solid metal like paper. "It's adapting!" Rhea shouted. "It's learning how we fight!" The monster turned toward her, fast. Vance saw its muscles tense, ready to pounce. Oh, hell no. He grabbed a plasma grenade from his belt, activated it, and shoved it straight into the creature's chest cavity. "Eat this!" Boom! The explosion ripped through its torso, sending it flying backward into a bank of data cores. Sparks and smoke filled the room. For a moment, nothing moved. Then, through the haze, it twitched, its wounds sealed. It was healing. Kyle's voice cracked. "Oh, screw this, man!" The floor rumbled again, not just from one creature, from many. More thudding footsteps, more screeches from the halls beyond. Rhea's face drained of color. "There's more of them!" Vance grabbed Kyle by the arm. "Time to go!" They sprinted for the exit as more abominations poured through the breached doorway. Kyle fired blindly behind him. "I hate this planet! I hate this planet! I hate—" The hallway collapsed. Metal beams crashed down, sealing the archive behind them, trapping the creatures inside. For now, they ran through the ruins, the flickering lights barely illuminating their path. The Vanguard's beacon pulsed on Vance's wrist display. They were close. Then, another voice whispered through the comms. "You cannot escape. We are already inside." Vance's stomach dropped. He activated ship comms. "Havoc, status report. Are we clear for launch?" Silence. Then, Havoc's distorted, laughing voice. "Oh, you guys are gonna love this. We have a problem." Rhea stared at Vance. "What now?" Havoc's voice crackled. "Something is on the ship." Vance gritted his teeth. "Move, now!" They sprinted toward the Vanguard, because now it wasn't just Exile 9 that was compromised. Their only way out was already infected. The Vanguard loomed ahead in the storm-lit darkness, its hull still scarred from the last battle. Its landing ramp was down, waiting. But something was wrong. The ship was too quiet. No hum of engines, no flashing lights from the bridge. Just silence. Vance's gut twisted. He pressed a finger to his comms. "Havoc, report." The AI laughed, glitching. "Oh, Commander, we have company." Wrecker's grip tightened on his rifle. "How bad?" "On a scale of mild inconvenience to screwed beyond reason? Yeah, we're at grab your guns and pray." Kyle groaned. "I hate when he does this." Vance moved first, sprinting up the ramp. "Weapons up. If anything moves that shouldn't, kill it." They stormed inside. The ship was dark. Not emergency light dark. Dead dark. Rhea checked her wrist display. "Power levels are dropping. Something's draining the core." Kyle's voice shook. Guys?" They turned. He was staring at the floor. A trail of black, oily liquid stretched down the corridor, thick, inky, moving. Not spilled fluid, not oil, something alive. It twitched, pulsed, slithered. "I have a very bad feeling about this," Kyle whispered. Then, a sound, not a growl, not a screech, a whisper. "Why do you run?" The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. The lights flickered. And that's when they saw it. Hunched in the corridor ahead, half-shadowed in the dim, flickering glow, it wasn't just one of the creatures, it was something worse. Its form was unstable, shifting between flesh and something else. Its veins glowed, its body twitching, distorting, like reality itself struggled to hold it together. Its eyes locked onto them, empty, endless, wrong, and then it moved, faster than thought, straight for them. The thing lunged. Vance fired first, his pulse rifle screaming as it lit up the corridor. The creature twisted unnaturally, dodging bullets in ways no living thing should. Wrecker tackled it head-on, his cybernetic arms locking around its shifting form. For a moment, it struggled, thrashing violently. Then it poured itself into him. Not attacking, absorbing. Wrecker screamed. The black, oily tendrils wrapped around his limbs, slithering into his implants, digging under his skin. His body seized, twitching violently. Kyle froze in horror. "Wrecker!" Vance didn't hesitate. He grabbed a shock charge from his belt, set it to maximum pulse, and slammed it into Wrecker's chest. Boom! Electricity surged through both of them. The creature shrieked as the energy crackled through its shifting body. It peeled away from Wrecker, twisting violently, splitting apart into nothing. And then, silence. Wrecker collapsed. "Wrecker!" Rhea rushed to him, scanning his vitals. His breathing was ragged, but stable. His cybernetics flickered, struggling to reboot. Kyle exhaled. Holy shit, that was close. But Vance's focus was elsewhere. The black sludge remained. It didn't die. It was still moving, retreating down the corridors, slithering toward the reactor core. Vance's stomach dropped. "It's going for the core," Rhea whispered. "It's trying to infect the ship." Kyle cursed. "If it takes over the Vanguard..." We're dead, Vance finished. The ship trembled. Lights flickered violently. Then, Havoc's voice crackled through the speakers. Oh, no, no, no! I am not getting body snatched today! The AI's tone darkened. Commander, you might want to brace. I'm about to do something very, very stupid. Vance didn't like the sound of that. Havoc, what are you... Flushing the core. Rhea's eyes widened. Wait. Then, the ship exploded with light. A surge of raw energy burst from the reactor, spreading through the Vanguard's systems like wildfire. The black sludge convulsed, screeching, thrashing violently as the overload burned through it. The lights flared to full power. The darkness peeled away. And then, it was gone. Vance gasped for breath. His hands shook as the last traces of the nightmare evaporated. The ship stabilized. The reactor hummed normally again. Havoc's voice returned, smug as ever. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you delete a cosmic horror. Wrecker groaned. Next time warn us before you try to fry the ship. Rhea exhaled, rubbing her temples. Is it... over? Kyle checked his scanner. No anomalies, no movement. He let out a slow breath. I think we actually killed it. Vance looked at the charred remains of the black sludge on the floor. Number not killed. Just delayed. Because whatever the Council created here, it wasn't meant to die. It had been waiting. And now, thanks to them, it knew the way out. Vance squared his shoulders. We're leaving. Now. Minutes later, the Vanguard's engines rode to life.